Operation Rapper Inquisition, moving through the fakeness, hip-hop matrix vision. Back again, in these bars, this is my prison. Walls of these pages with pen shanks I'm scribbling. No visits, lines on paper, concrete walls. My margin is my showers and my washroom stalls. End of the page is when I make parole. Force me to execute rappers, then throw me in the hole. So much so, the MC, not confined. The elements of hip-hop today are not combined. Almost seeing the other side, gotta stay focused. Just gotta let that phone ring and don't lose focus. They can't try to hocus pocus. Send rapping jokers with handbags, Gucci purses and chokers. Jeans, wrestler, spandex type. Turning youths to robots. If you drink a Sprite, that's not what I say, that's what they do. Use rappers to sell these sneakers and Mountain Dew. Flowing like a fountain do. When you turn to leave us, setting the bar for conscious MCs and rapping believers. Trapped with me in these bars, rappers begging for seizures. Hanging rappers with the strongest lines, squirm like leeches. Sentenced to the underground, no one hears your screams. Left right to the mouth for these black and yellow dreams. What happened to the MCs? Ask yourself. What happened to the DJ? Ask yourself. What happened to the rapper? Ask yourself. What happened to the dancer? Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself.
Check it. Let's open the book of hip hop and the advances. My supreme knowledge of alchemical sciences only enhances my ability to drop metaphysical answers. When asked about the MC, the DJ, the graph for the dancers, earth, air, fire, water, all in on the hip hop. Study hard to get that. Forget rap, cause it's not. The transformation from lead to go from man to God can be achieved through hip hop. It's art, the planet's ours. The colors and tones and archetypes of spark the light. Give your third eye a bird's eye, restore the loss of sight. You already lost the fight whenever I come across the mic, because you're dealing with God and you can never exhaust the light. So we're making the shift from hip hop to God hop. It's the return of the ancient ones and we coming non-stop. So when the student is ready to teach you up here, so I'm here, straight from the boogie down, so have no fear.
What happened to the MCs? Ask yourself. What happened to the DJ? Ask yourself. What happened to the rapper? Ask yourself. What happened to the dancer? Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself, it's only in the underground, unseen but heard. Oracles, words, and metaphoric slurs, gliding on the soothe savage beat tones. Paparazzi taking pictures, talking on the phone. Pictures tell 1,000 words, but drivers on camera, reading or sleeping while driving on camera. He might even be hammered. It's not even lunch yet. Didn't have breakfast, clock, not even punch yet. Send that to the news and post on YouTube. Hits some people get are in the thousands, not few. Charge $1, make $1 million. Set up a website and PayPal, make a killing. Right side, that's all just hype. I'm on the streets bringing youth from darkness to light. I'm in their courts, not playing ball, but schooling them crossover thoughts. It's not training camp like October sports. Season's been started. Sam's going to shoot shadow targets. Got them thinking it's the shoes when they're in the market. Got them thinking it's the booze and blunts you smoke. Got them thinking magazine monthly hip-hop quotes. I'm the best line, they can't test time. Rappers get awards for MC best albums and best rhymes. I was the brush carrier with fades and waves. Didn't know that hairstyle was from the ancient days. Me doing the work for the Amazon matriarchal. Rapping hip-hop today so patriarchal. Female MCs on the mic, I probably know 6. The game is like church and demigods, no over on pulpits. We have to say what we must, sow some seeds, so we can grow strong trees with the bedsheet leaves. Deadbeat seas, most navigate with flows. I flow on papyrus beat boats as I write these scrolls. Bringing back the hip-hop's constitutional fold. Even mics can't escape, catch a bruise when I hold. My paper trails leave them, fool when I hold. Apply more science, never get blued when I flow. Cushion pen, not the cush when you see I blow. Flow for right years when my 3 eyes glow. And head and rapper inquisition. Pen mighty and the swords not even on ink we missing. What happened to the MCs? Ask yourself. What happened to the DJ? Ask yourself. What happened to the rapper? Ask yourself. What happened to the dancer? Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself. IHF, what up? CMP, what up? Masons think they add up with they tack down tassels. Watch me send you rope to Albion in a lasso. Caucasoid hybrid, sun burns your eyelids. To the human fam, we created a virus. Some help to build, but most destroy our future through melanin girls and melanin boys. Fast food, television, miseducation. Missed the history, stole the rights from our nation. National appellation, not in all capitals. Tribes of nobles and noblesse with woven crest. Peasants in sashes, shawls and vests. On Ashkenazi Jews, I put an alpha hex, omega the rest. Without a bloody mess, left dead in some Nikes like David Koresh. Burn out your temple with myrrh and frankincense. To work a ritual, it's all about intent and invent. Melanin, the magic dust, trust me. I shade to all the Putin while all the Orishas love me, trust me. Black candles, we got red ones too. When lit with every fake, this is deja vu. With no Denzel, cause Washington won the Grammy. He doesn't even know Washington is his granny. Could've sniped Wesley, but went for tax evasion. Moors and courts facing these Judge Masons. Give back your rituals and your Babylon ways. Give back your holy books, call me rebellious slave. Give back history, there's more truth in mine. Give back your crucifix, hanging tree boots and swine. Give back your rituals and your Babylon ways. Give back your holy books, call me rebellious slave. Give back history, there's more truth in mine. Give back your crucifix, hanging tree boots and swine. Coming to you from the blackness in peyote teepees. Not the head rush from ice or sucking freezies. You could choose to research, don't believe me. Key of life songs cause inner visions and wonders like Stevie. Walk through the world under, your mind flows like tundra soil. Hit you like Shango when my blood's on boil. Come as Bata'Allah or Batala. With one eye for sight, I can see from afar. Mermaids and mermen cry for tadpoles and jaws. Trying to get the serious, they call it mission to Mars. To get you not looking, distract attention. Not to mention, but they have your brains in a lasso and your pineal gland tattooed. With designs calcified, my height is amplified. To levels so deep, my flow is amphibious style. Leaving clansmen bloody in a hideous pile. Not like King Leonidas and Spartan saying 300. To call a legion of Ra, you must be frontin' like European pharaohs before the 18th dynasty. Coming and killing me and saying they're nasty. One golden firewall so you can't catch me. Had to jack your beat cause the shit's catchy. Sometimes a fake cruise my face screw like little Scrappy. And at the piggies with the scanners trying to speed trap me. Cause I'm repping blue bloods wanna cap me. I told you, boys in blue thinking I'm a Crip soldier. Give back your rituals and your Babylon ways. Give back your holy books, call me rebellious slave. Give back history, there's Moorish truth in mine. Give back your crucifix, hanging tree boots and swine. Give back your rituals and your Babylon ways. Give back your holy books, call me rebellious slave. Give back history, there's Moorish truth in mine. Give back your crucifix, hanging tree boots and swine. On the real. Fake boys know the deal. Yo, Redkin, what up? That's how we do it. Give back your rituals and your Babylon ways. Call me rebellious slave.
Just want a little I smoke, yeah. Nigga, I burn the marijuana and they won't book me for that. See me on the streets, here they come, here they at. Stroll around the corner, hands in the hood with a gat. They won't book me for that, won't bag me for that. Undercovers come up to me, ask me for crack, not protect and to serve. That's provoking the act. They won't book me for that. They won't back me for that. But the man in ties, they just look at me back. I burn the marijuana and they won't book me for that. Is it the rich that is mean or the ways that you stack? For the pigmentation of his skin, he's black. Like they won't book me for that. They won't bag me for that. Ain't even speeding, I'm doing my limit. Can't be taxed, it's illegal. System structured, so you can't be rich. Got us breathing mustard. My brain's blue from the smoke. Ponics, human product. Illumines force light, they call simulate. The devil used man to try to make life, cause God wouldn't tell him, condemn him, fell him. God gave us the seed to reproduce till Mother Earth is full. So in the mean, I burn the marijuana and they won't book me for that. See me on the street, say they come, hey they yak. Stroll around the corner, hands on the hood with the yaks. They won't book me for that. Where the good people at? Motherfuckers come up to me, ask me for crack, protect them to serve. That's provoking the act. They won't book me for that. They won't back me for that. But a man in ties, they just look at me back cause they think I'm black. Nah, man. Bruh. Something like that.
Marijuana, yo, it caught me. I don't know why they always on me. Only thing I give on me. If you stop us, we put it out calmly. Officer, where's your authority? Don't be the national on Orlando is seas. Oh, I love the sense of me. Bonnet idol, no grabber in my weed. We check out the stems and seeds. Rolling while I'm rolling, that's a regular tendency. Enough man be the NC. For me some bubble roots or some ganja tea. I take 2 shots for my enemies. Envious bad mind with the jealousy. But on the nothing we are the remedy. Chef in Zanga pit, we mastered the recipe. Watch this roll, yeah, it's a masterpiece. I don't care who sees, I'm on my herb in the streets. The cushion bang is always on me. Few times the pussy them try swami, intelligent tones. I tell them calmly, I'm MIA, Moorish Imperial Army. Mind what you say, you might rub me wrongly, matter in me eye. I bury I'm beef, and I even brush me teeth. Me want me some beef, me not get that split with bun, me get drunk.
Marijuana and they won't book me for that. See me on the streets, here they come, here they act. Stroll around the corner, hands in the hood with a gat. They won't book me for that, won't back me for that. Undercovers come up to me, ask me for cracks, not protect and to serve. That's provoking the act. They won't book me for that, they won't back me for that. But the man in ties, they just look at me back. I burn the marijuana and they won't book me for that. Is it the rich that is mean or the ways that you stack? Or the pigmentation of his skin, he's black. Like they won't book me for that, won't bag me for that.
I pray that God will bless you in everything that you do. I pray that you will grow intellectually so that you can understand the problems of the world and where you fit into in that world picture.
The sun vibrates, earth revolves, how can I rise? If I perceive through a calcified third eye, macabre's looking like paper mache today, and words of wisdom from ancestors are now cliche, blowing like dust away, or metal rust away, doing wrong unto others and got nothing to say. We shackled our slaves, now we wear cuffs today. Wanna make your wife a dyke, you go trust the gay. I am cheap punchlines, make Douglas Buster sway. Little times if crochet or custom made, RBG or RG, it's still MST. Getting guards off riddling and pill stamped with E. I go, I made. Youths chant with me on the front lines, and I got no grant with me. All diamonds are bloody, rapping blood clot done. I'm thinking that's real. Imhotep playing a movie, mommy. Give up a car doll and call it an Oscar, calling me grouch when I drop the truth on you. Use hip-hop to wake those you call young goats at risk, cause they gun-toed and inhale gun smoke. Mufti shoot, nah, get a neck thumb poke. Trying to order me on the 9 to 5 like a slave boat. Master gets nailed to walls like plaster or gyprock. Illegal tackle in battle or catch a hip rock.
And I pray that all the fear that has ever been in your heart will be taken out. And when you look at that man, if you know he's nothing but a coward, you won't fear him. If he wasn't a coward, he wouldn't gang up on you. That's how they function. They function in miles. That's a coward. They put on a sheet so you won't know who they are. That's a coward. Now, the time will come when that sheet will be ripped off.
You're scared to say, don't touch my ass, you b-boy cowards. Try that with me, ball in your face like 48 hours. Bloody your nose, maybe bloody your clothes. Kick Satan's ass in Eden's garden and bloody your rose. Bloody your spit, I'm just like bronchitis severe. X-Alpha Omega, I'll make blood of your tears. Not on the Mike Tyson style, but I'll bloody your ears. Throw a shotgun, blast you and your fam, bloody your peers. Some Pan-Africans ask why they bloody the feds. I say trail of tears is when they bloodied my feds. Without inspection, I see fiction correction. Too much diction and not enough soul reflection. Agents causing confusion from misconceptions. Distractions make brunch drops like turns missed on sessions. File for possessions. I burn up your Wessons. Smith cashing in the bonds, good to live off pensions. Live off our tensions. I got to mention. Give Moore's European names and live off our inventions. Saying I'm black to cash in on bond investments. Saying I'm a Moor, you're giving me psycho assessments.
Woo. Peace. Pop-up class. Wednesday, Canaanland Moors. We're here. Oh. Sorry, busy. So we're here. What's good, Mar?
Slime green sheet. Slime.
So we're here just doing our duty to uplift our people any way possible. Because it seems they don't want it. You know everybody else around them has it. So the first stop is Robert Sepper. So Robert Sepper put out this 24-minute video about Moors, Shriners, Phoenicians, and Freemasonry. 27,000. Go check some Canaanland Moor stuff. This was, let me see when he uploaded. He uploaded the 30th. He uploaded the 30th. Right? To the 3rd. 27,000. Now they don't talk crazy in this like how the black guys talk. They're not playing the Seti and the Pharaoh and the Amen-Ra squad and the Dagger squad and the Frank Gary and the Hebrew Israelite, and they're not playing that BS when they talk about Moors. Not going there. When Moors talk, everybody got something to say. Everybody got something to say. We're gonna rep for some Sepper today. Because we found out that he ain't some European. He's Persian. That's all us. Just like Europe is all us. They ain't no pale people. They're only claiming what they're claiming because of so-called Negroes claiming what they're claiming. The Negroes ain't hearing anything about what we're saying. Fine. Maybe you'll listen to somebody else.
In prehistoric times, the Italian peninsula was rather different from how it is now. During the Ice Age, for example, the sea level was several hundred feet lower, and the islands of Elba and Sicily were connected to the Italian mainland. Historical records start with the Phoenicians, who established colonies over 3,000 years ago.
I know. Let's stop for a sec. We're just going to pardon the interjection. Just going to pardon the interjection.
Australia right now. Check out this restaurant that these Bloodlines. This long horse within Sydney, Australia right now. Check out this restaurant that these Bloodlines. This long horse within Sydney, Australia right now. Check out this restaurant that these Bloodlines.
What they say, they won't see nationality, the order of the day. So stay taking for rights, calling people racist, playing it on themselves, but don't know the fake face. No matter what they do or what they say, they won't see nationality, the order of the day. So stay taking for rights, calling people racist, playing it on themselves, but don't know the fake face. Position you call.
Right?
Sheldon always kills them. Always.
The traveling war. The traveling war. All over. So just to put in perspective, right? When you talk about the commercial network of the Phoenicians and all this stuff, just remember El Phoenician restaurant. That if you're going to see Phoenician there and not argue or debate, then you see El there, don't debate. You already know what the L's are, who the L's are, where the L's are, and what it represents. So stop playing. You have anything to add more?
No, it's just watching shows and just show that the El Phoenician, and because it lays the foundation just in case anything, just in case anybody wanted to know who the Phoenicians were. There's the foundation right now. The Moors were the Phoenicians. So that's us. I'm glad you showed that video, because just any confusion for what the video we're gonna go in on with the Persian.
Right, the brother from the east.
Yep.
Coming to tell these Negroes what's up, but they don't want to hear what he's saying. How come? He's just verifying the stuff that Noble Drew Ali been telling the people. $1900s. Remember, our stuff is 50,000 years old.
Yep.
So just keep in mind the reference points, dates that you hear, and keep in mind Noble Drew Ali said 50,000 years we've been here. On this side, flag was flying in this land for 50,000. And ironically, they have Phoenicia represented with the red box.
The history of Sicily has also been influenced by Greeks, Romans, Vandals, Islam, Normans, and the Spanish. The indigenous.
Now, keep in mind before he goes in, keep in mind the swirling dervishes. Okay, let's keep on swirling.
The indigenous people of Sicily, long absorbed into the population, were tribes known to the ancient Greek writers as Elymians, the Sicani, and the Siculi, or Sicils, from which...
Now again, right, don't matter Moors, we're just pointing out what we see, right? Elymians, right, the Elymians, the Sicani, and the Sicels. Right? You know, just adding on, just backing up. Just backing up the Persian. And then remember, don't forget, right? I'm going to keep reminding you that when you say about Persians or whatever like that, just talking about this right here. Talking about anything ancient as far as Persia, you're talking people looking like this. What we're talking about? We're talking about fezzes and afros and big beards. This is what we're talking about. This is why we're repping. Fez is up. 380 BC. Fez is up. So don't tell me anything about we're not Moors. Elymians, Sicani, and Sicels. And then he's going to continue on verifying everything that Drew Ali been telling these people about their ancient foremothers and forefathers who they abandoned because they want to be Negro, black, colored, and everything else that means nothing. And they want to debate Moors, but they're not going to debate the Persian though. Not going to say anything, right? You go in the comments, you're not going to find any of the black guys in here talking about they're not the whatever. None of the black guys. Excellent. Thanks, very interesting. They're not over here. They're not over here talking BS to him, but they're going to talk BS to their brothers who are Moors and debate us. Go ahead, Moore.
I just want to add on out of the book on History of the Moorish Empire in Europe by S.P. Scott, 3 volumes. Out of volume 2, page 3, it says, thus has Sicily, by her amalgamation of widely different races and through her political affiliations, inherited all the noblest traditions of antiquity and all the maxims of Oriental philosophy, of Grecian culture, of Phoenician enterprise, and Roman power. With her history are associated the names of Hasdrubal, I guess Hasdrubal, and Hamilcar, Pyrrhus, Marcellus, and Archimedes. But long before the period of the Byzantine degeneracy so fatal to the empire, her prosperity had greatly declined. Even in the time of the Caesars, the evils of the Danelle and Ratspurish administration had been felt in the imposition of onerous taxes. Now, the onerous, and okay, I just wanted to add it in with the how Sicily, by her amalgamation of widely different races is by her amalgamation of widely different races and through her political affiliations, inherited all the noblest traditions of antiquity. So he's showing, amalgamated Moorish dancing, because that's the Moorish dance that they was just doing. That dance is called the Moorish dance. That's a dance that they, according to S.P. Scott, they inherited through amalgamation. So that's why I'm looking at the video, because the girl, she pointed it out like it's not, the way I was looking at it was totally different. I thought he was coming at Morris, and then the girl, she pointed it out, like, no, basically watch the video. So I watched it and I seen it and I'm like, oh, what else do you want to be? They're in the same situation as us, modern Europeans. They can't be going around saying they're white. That's a color.
Right.
What else would they be? You can't say you're, because we know Europe's not a continent. Europe's in Asia, but we're all Asiatics. And like S.P. Scott said, they're amalgamated.
So when you hear people talk about the ice people and the sun people, and then the ice people came on here, and then they tried, and then the sun people don't listen to these people talking crazy. European that is not like almost kin to us, because we created them. If we created them, then that means we have a very personal relationship with them. You think you're just making a being? Some work has to go in.
Yeah.
Some time has to go in to creating this being. During that time, you have a personal relationship with this being. So don't make it sound like, the Europeans are the whatever, and then we are the... No. Stop the BS, because you have to be a devil if you made another being to be your slave. You had to be on the lower self. You had to be Satan to say, I'm going to create a being to be my slave because I don't want to do anything. Or for whatever reason, you decide to create. Banish them, send them into some ice wilderness, because we created them. We could have gave them little melanin so they could live in the sun, so it would be no issue. But no. We give them no melanin. We're the gods of earth and all that stuff. So we already know that everything needs melanin here to survive. If there's a sun shining here. So why would you be a dumbass and create a being with no melanin? That you're going to have to cast that out or whatever like that, because that turns leprous and all this stuff in the sun or whatever. So you cast that out into some ice wilderness, and then it comes out the ice wilderness, it amalgamates, learns something, is trying to be, not as retarded as you made them, and you're mad. Why are you mad? So these people adopted they had nothing. Do you know how good these people must have felt when they went and they started ruling Egypt after it fell? Do you know how good it must have felt for them to sit on that seat? That dead seat? The dead seat. Remember, the dead seat. Stuff fell, and they took it over after it fell. They took it over after it fell. Whatever energy that was left there or whatever like that, took off with it, did whatever it is that they did to be who they are today. And you're mad. They're mad. Take some responsibility. Take some responsibility. Be a Moor. Fess up to your BS that you did. So that's the thing with Moors, that we're not about the confusion. The confusion is telling me anything that has to do with a fiction, and I'm that, but you're not going to be the thing that goes back 50,000 years and that people are making videos talking about it, them tying themselves to it. But, oh yeah, our people don't want it. So don't look at confusion as confusion. That's ignorance too.
Yeah.
Which the island derives its name. Sicily was also later known by the Romans by its Greek name Trinacria. The ancient symbol of Trinacria is the head of Medusa overlaying 3 legs conjoined at the hips and flexed in a triangle.
No. If they're talking about the head of Medusa, now hold on a second. Now Medusa's supposed to be the one that nobody doesn't want around. She had the snake hair and stuff like that. And this stuff is based on her, which we already know, just like Calypso and, you know, Jack Sparrow and all that stuff. Anytime you see locks and snakes and serpents and wings and whatever, you're talking about the high cultured, dark skinned people. No matter how much pale stuff they want to make it pretend to be, everything goes back to these dark skinned people who are the founders of civilization that have lost themselves.
Today, Sicily is an autonomous region of the Republic of Italy, has its own distinct culture, and is both the largest region of modern state of Italy and the largest island in the Mediterranean Sea.
You know, Sicilians are great liars. Best in the world. I'm Sicilian. My father was the world heavyweight champion of Sicilian liars. From growing up with him, I learned the pantomime. There are 17 different things a guy can do when he lies to give himself away. The guy's got 17 pantomimes. If you know them, like you know your own face, they'd be lie detectors all to hell. Now, what we got here is a little game of show and tell. You don't want to show me nothing, but you tell me everything. I know you know where they are, so tell me. Before I do some damage, you won't walk away from.
Could I have one of those Chesterfields now?
Sure.
Oh, you know, you've seen this 50 million times. People who don't know. This is true romance. Go see the movie. It's all right. But this is the key part. So the whole movie. Key point. One, showing you the infighting of the Europeans. That they got their own stuff that they're dealing with internally. You think we're the only ones that got some problems. And their biggest problem is that it sucks to know that you might have nigger blood in you as a European. And certain Europeans, they want to play that superiority complex. Just go get Brother Carruthers' book, Intellectual Warfare. You realize where these people's minds are at. So they have their own issues. So dude try to play like he's somebody. He's Sicilian and all this stuff or whatever. He already knows where to, you know, when they have a little fight scene or whatever like that and guy getting his ass kicked or whatever, and then you remember, oh yeah, that guy has a bad shoulder or whatever. And then he starts digging his finger in the wound or whatever like that. Okay, so he realized he's about to get it.
Yeah.
So he said, let me get the favorite cigarette right now because I know you're the man, Sicilian. I know you have the stuff. Let me get one of the stuff right now. And you're like, let me get one of the real ones. Not these fake cigarettes people got here talking about those are cigarettes. Give me the real stuff from back home. Get one of those since you're Sicilian. And he's about to slap this dude. He's about to dig it in. He's about to dig it into him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a fiction. That's not a movie. Like this is an actual, real, historical thing that he's gonna talk about right now. This is not just some stuff in the script of a movie. This is actually a historical reference point with regard to the relationship between the dark-skinned people on the planet and the European people on the planet, and why there's this hatred for them. So remember, a lot of these people are harem sons. They came from the harem. So they're mad. But the one thing that they don't like is having that I'm from Sicily. My father is the that arrogant European whatever. That's because of what he's about to drop on him right now.
You got a match? Oh wait, no, don't bother. You're Sicilian, huh? Sicilian. No. I read a lot, especially about things, about history.
Right? So again, revealed another thing about Europeans. Because by the time the end, you realize that Red Tie reads a lot too. And you know stuff about history.
Right. Right.
If you want to hide anything from a nigger, put it in a book. Anything.
That's the truest thing in the world.
Crazy. You know what stuff we found in books? that it is absolutely true. Because when I was a nigger, I didn't read either. And my mind got blue when I started reading some books, realized what people were putting in those. Forget what they put in their bank account and what they put in their, drawer. Some stuff people put in books is crazy.
Yep.
And it's dealing with history. So remember, this is a reference point from a movie and all that stuff, but this has some historical reference. Very important historical reference.
I find that shit fascinating. Here's a fact, I don't know whether you know or not. Sicilians were spawned by niggers.
Come in.
It's a fact. Yeah. You see, Sicilians have black blood pumping through their hearts. And no, if you don't believe me, you can look it up. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago, you see, the Moors conquered Sicily, and the Moors are niggers. See, way back then, Sicilians were like wops from northern Italy. They all had blonde hair and blue eyes. But, well, then the Moors moved in there, and, well, they changed the whole country. They did so much fucking with Sicilian women, that they changed the whole bloodline forever. That's why blonde hair and blue eyes became black hair and dark skin. It's absolutely amazing to me to think that to this day, hundreds of years later, that Sicilians still carry that naked gene. Now this, I'm quoting history. It's written. It's a fact. It's written.
I love this guy.
Right? Don't worry about he said the Moors and niggers. Because he kept saying Moors, not niggers. So shut the hell up. Don't worry. He already knows the Moors aren't niggers. He's saying that for this guy. Remember, he's digging his thumb into the thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
This man's laughing to try to keep from crying because he knows what he's being told. He knows what he's being told right now. Now remember, this is a historical context. So take this interaction as for real. Two Europeans from two different nations. That one of them found out something about the other one. And they're really going at it. And they get to this point where the man almost to the man of the one they're looking for, the right-hand man, they bump into him. And he's like, yo, I'm not giving it up. But I'm going to dig this thumb into you right now. Remember, he's talking about a historical reference point. Not talking about some fiction. The Moors did rule Sicily.
Yep.
That's a historical fact, like he said. Even telling you in the movie. This is a fact. It's not part of the script or whatever. You have any additions, Mark?
I just wanted to add on to the because the guy, the Sicilian, he mentions that his father was something boxer, right? Did you hear when he said it?
Yeah, at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but he says his father was champion for 17 years of the Marcellas or something like that. Whatever that word was, it was a Moorish word. If you rewind it, you can hear him. Like the word, it's M-A-R. He says it Mar or whatever, or Marsers or something like that. But it's Moorish. Whatever his father was, because as soon as he said it, I said, okay, he started the Moorish conversation when he mentioned his father being a champion of that Moorish word.
Put it up right now.
If you know them, like you know your own face, they'd be lie detectors all to hell. Now, what we got here is a little game of show and tell. You don't want to show me nothing, but you tell me everything. I know you know where they are, so tell me. Before I do some damage, you won't walk away from.
I think we went back a little bit further.
I have one of those Chesterfields.
Sure. Sicilians are great liars. Best in the world. I'm Sicilian. My father was the world heavyweight champion of Sicilian liars. From growing up with him, I learned the pantomime. There are 17 different things a guy can do when he lies to give himself away. Guy's got 17.
What was it, Sicilian liars?
Sicilian liars.
Oh, Sicilian liars.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm glad
heavyweight Sicilian liars.
Okay. I'm glad you reminded it, brother.
You know them like you know your own face. They'd be lie detectors all to hell. Now, what we got here is a little game of show and tell. You don't want to show me nothing, but you tell me everything. I know you know where they are, so tell me. Before I do some damage, you won't walk away from.
Could I have one of those Chesterfields now?
Sure.
You got a match? Oh, wait, no, don't bother. You're Sicilian, huh? Sicilian. No. I read a lot, especially about things, about history. I find that shit fascinating. Here's a fact, I don't know whether you know or not. Sicilians were spawned by niggers.
Come again?
It's a fact. Yeah. You see, Sicilians have black blood pumping through their hearts. And no, if you don't believe me, you can look it up. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago, you see, the Moors conquered Sicily, and the Moors are niggers. See, way back then, Sicilians were like wops from northern Italy. They all had blonde hair and blue eyes. But, well, then the Moors moved in there, and, well, they changed the whole country. They did so much fucking with Sicilian women, huh, that they changed the whole bloodline forever. That's why blonde hair and blue eyes became black hair and dark skin. You know, it's absolutely amazing to me to think that to this day, hundreds of years later, that Sicilians still carry that nigger gene. Now this, I'm quoting history. It's written. It's a fact. It's written.
I know this guy.
Your ancestors are niggers. Hey. Yeah. And your great grandmother fucked a nigger. Oh, yeah. And she had a half nigger kid. Now, if that's a fact, tell me, am I lying? Because you're part eggplant. Hey.
You're a cantaloupe.
Of the Prophet Muhammad. The red hair said to have been shaved from Muhammad's face by his barber Salman in the presence of Abu Bakr, Ali, and several other witnesses. Individual hairs were later taken away, but the beard itself is kept protected and on display in a glass container. Starting after the age of 40, the Prophet Muhammad began to dye his graying beard red to gain a more youthful appearance, as the Prophet Muhammad himself was reported to have naturally red hair when he was young. This helps to explain why millions of Muslims today, some being of sub-Saharan African origin with black hair, also dye their beards with red henna. The same way that DNA evidence has demonstrated that about 99% of modern-day Egyptians are not genetically related to the blonde and red-headed pharaohs, the vast majority of Muslims today have no ethnic relation to the Prophet Muhammad, yet still dye themselves with red henna out of respect, tradition, imitation, and religious reasons. During her lifetime, Aisha, Muhammad's wife, gained the epithet Humaira, a word which has been translated as light, reddish, or fair, but whose meaning can be most accurately rendered as blonde. Abu Bakr, the father of Aisha, and thus the father-in-law of Muhammad, was the first caliph of Islam in 632 AD to 634. He was slenderly built, white-skinned, and when his ginger beard started to gray, he also dyed it with red henna. Caliph Ali, in 656 to 661 AD, a first cousin and son-in-law of Muhammad, was also renowned for his blonde hair, as were his descendants who founded the Shiite branch of Islam. Indeed, there appears to have been a blonde element amongst the leadership of the Arabic peoples from the very earliest times.
Always remember, doesn't matter what people say, the first pale being was the albino, not some European. The albino has pale skin, blonde hair. Hair might sometimes be yellow or orange. Hair might sometimes be yellow or orange on the albino that has pale skin, but it's really Asiatic, because we already know Asiatics create everything. You want to talk about you're black and everything comes from blackness? Okay, well, everything including the pale, comes from the dark. And I know because back in the day in the islands, we had the albino. And just like how they talk about how it is, he was the outcast or whatever. He only knew few people. You know. But it's a real thing. That now if you're going back and to Yaqub and all that stuff now, and he created European, what are you talking about? Which one? The Asiatic European? The Asiatic blonde hair, blue eye? Or the European straight hair, blonde hair, blue eye? With the straight nose instead of the broad nose and the skinny lips. Now we always go with the knowledge that that's where they took that and made the European from that. The albino woman was the womb that they brought that through. Because everything is back to us. There's no anybody claiming that whatever they look like today, that's the stuff. Because you're always going to have to honor your foremothers and forefathers. And when you trace everybody back, they're going back to somebody who looks like us. I don't care how they look like. No. It can't be that we weren't the first everything. The first Islamic, the first Christian, the first Satanist, the first Jewish, the first occult, the first everything, we were the first of. Other people got your stuff today and you're saying like it's their stuff. Abandoning your stuff again. This is about 500 times over, we abandon our own stuff. Or we adopt it from some foreign perspective, which is still you abandoning your stuff. Because you should be repping it how you're supposed to rep it. You rep it like somebody else. And speaking on repping it, shout out to Russell Westbrook for the 2020 on his shout out to Nipsey. That's how he's repping his boy's death. Went out on the court, got 2020. Said, Coach Nado, I'm not coming out till I get my 2020 in honor. That's how he repped. A lot of people say that you rep. How you repping? You're giving people honors. Let's see what honors you're giving. You didn't go carry no casket. He went out and did 2020 in honor. It wasn't about just some t-shirt, Crenshaw t-shirt. Man became God in people's face. They still don't want to be themselves. Regardless how we dress, regardless what people say, whatever like that. Hey. And so he's not repping. Are you repping? Are you repping for your stuff like you're supposed to be repping? Or are we playing around? Having you abandon your own stuff.
1 second, Gracie.
Yeah, more. Right? All this is yours. Anything you go back. Romans, Greeks, all that. These people take away your stuff from you. Letting you know. We already told you. The pale was like, this pale was us. Not some straight hair or whatever. We know them as albinos. Because we already know that there was no Europeans around in this time like how they're talking. If the Prophet Muhammad is the master Sufi of Islam, this is not about some dogma. And once you're talking about spiritual and esoteric, you're talking about more science. They say whatever. Muhammad was a Sufi. It's a prerequisite that the Prophet studied all the arts.
Thus, the distinguished Harvard anthropologist Carlton S. Kuhn has noted when referring to the population of the Yemeni plateau, quote, "The Nordic-looking people are usually confined to the social stratum from which civil officers and religious men are drawn, and it is more than a coincidence that the acknowledged descendants of the Prophet are lighter-skinned and show greater evidence of blondism than the rest of the population. There may perhaps have been a Nordic strain associated with the Holy Families who entered this region from the Hijaz in the early post-Islamic times," end quote. Professor C.S. Kuhn also has stated that amongst the peoples of Morocco, quote, "The ordinary city Arabs are little different from their pastoral and agricultural breeding, but this rule does not apply to the aristocratic families. It would also appear that many of the numerous and diverse rulers of Moorish Spain appeared racially Nordic. The Spanish historian Enrique Sordo informs us that, and I quote, "Most of the caliphs were fair or ginger-haired with blue eyes, which seems to show a preponderance of Berber or Germanic blood." This
Now again, go back to intellectual warfare. Go back to dirt. Go back to Amos Wilson. There was a systematic campaign to make sure that everything appeared to you like a European. They had their scholars rewriting stuff from what they found in their research. Dr. Jose Pimenta Bay too, our fellow children of the New World. I also think nature knows no color line. They're talking about in certain places it's written a certain way, and then when it gets to over here, it's written so that people stay in dumb down mode. It's not written in this proper perspective. So add 2 shades to every picture you see.
Wow.
It's not more.
This trend towards blondism began with the very first independent Muslim ruler of the Iberian Peninsula, and from whom some other European royals share their genetic ancestry. According to a study by one of the top genealogical publishers of the world that has provided authoritative genealogical records of historical families for more than 190 years, Queen Elizabeth is a descendant of Islam's Prophet Muhammad, specifically his 43rd great-granddaughter.
Yeah. Yeah, Mark.
We are all Moorish.
Anor Majid. We are all Moors. Anor Majid. No, not everybody is proclaiming and declaring their nationality as a Moor. That's totally different.
No, that's not. That's
right?
different.
That's totally different. But we are all Moors. But don't think because people say, don't think that people say that they're Moors, that means that they're proclaimed and declared. They just have enough common sense to make sure they tie themselves to the longest history in the world.
Right.
Why tie yourself to anything else? Like the Moor said, common sense is not common. So, you know, we are common sense quickies. We are all Moors.
Yep, that's why if they was proclaimed and declared Moors, the dude would have Dan L as his title.
Right. But he already knows. He already knows nationality. So Sepper already puts him in a jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
That is not even going to be a question. But you bring a Negro up or whatever, there's a mood. The hell is that? What is that right now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's ancient Egypt, whatever. Okay, you go look at ancient Egypt, all you see is rubble. That's what you're tying yourself to? Do you see the queen in a hijab? Oh, but because she visited the mosque, that's why she's wearing the hijab. So why is she visiting the mosque? Oh, just out of some honors of whatever? No, these people know exactly what's up. Everybody wants to tie themselves and is and has been tying themselves to the Moors, except the Moors.
Yep.
The Moors want to be unconscious Moors.
Yep. When that lady reporter on Moors program, everybody knows she's being racist. So you trying to tie herself back to what she knew.
Exactly. On the public record. No, not have to say anything. Just wear a brooch. Have these people tripping.
Yep.
No words were said. All the lady did was wear a brooch. That's all. And people lost it.
Yep. She didn't even step out the conveyance yet. She was in the conveyance.
She was in the conveyance. People going nuts. She's in the conveyance.
She didn't even know what was going on. She was looking for parking or something. This lady apologized. She lied and said she was sorry. She not sorry.
Sorry for what? Sorry for tying myself to the Moors? Get the hell out of here. Yeah, all rights reserved. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. Like you said, and that's the problem is the Moors is playing the Moors, the ones who own Black Power. They're too busy playing the victim role.
Yeah.
So they couldn't ever be even looking at this type of way. Like, oh, they're just trying to tie themselves back to, you know, who from the out of the dark ages. Who brought in the light, you know, who you know, and some of the dirty Moors putting them in the Moors concubines and stuff, in the harems and stuff like that. Like but they're not explaining it like that because they're too busy playing. We were the slaves.
Right. Oh yeah, and the Moor said in the chat, Islam in Britain by Nabil Matar. For anybody who can't see the chat or whatever, but Islam in Britain, Nabil Matar.
More in Britain?
Islam in Britain.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know, crazy. That's why more study. That's why more study Islam.
A release by United Press International dated October 10, 1986 says, Muslims in Buckingham Palace. Mixed in with Queen Elizabeth's blue blood, is the blood of the Muslim prophet Muhammad, according to Burke's Peerage, the genealogical guide to royalty. The relation came out when Harold B. Brooks Baker, publishing director of Burke's, wrote Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher to ask for better security for the royal family. Quote, the royal family's direct descendant from the Prophet Muhammad cannot be relied upon to protect the royal family forever from Muslim terrorists, he said. Probably realizing the connection would be a surprise to many, he added, quote, it is little known by the British people that the blood of Muhammad flows in the veins of the Queen. However, all Muslim religious leaders are proud of this fact, end quote. Brooks Baker said the British royal family is descended from Muhammad through the Arab kings of Seville, who once ruled Spain. By marriage, their blood passed through...
Yeah, who once ruled where? You already know who they're talking about once they're talking about somebody ruling Spain. And they start showing you those colorful doorways of the Alhambra. You already know who they're talking about. It's not a question who they're talking about. It's not a question who they're tying themselves to. This is what they're tying themselves to.
And that's all in the roof.
Right.
Through to the European kings of Portugal and Castile, and through them to England's 15th century King Edward IV.
اتكتب في كتب من آل هاشم من آل النبي هاشمي. ازاي طب أما الملكة ما طلعتش مسلمة ليه؟ لأنه أصل هاشمي ده ساب الإسلام.
The people known as Moors today are an offshoot of the Berber people, the native population of North Africa, especially around the Atlas Mountains. When Arabs conquered North Africa in the 7th and 8th centuries, one of the first people to convert were the white Berbers, who helped the Arabs in their spread of Islam until they reached the Atlantic. From there, they conquered the...
Again, tying themselves to it. Remember, once Islam's ruling, you're Islamic after that. Ipso jure. So don't it seem like they had some type of culture and then they brought their culture and no. They had nothing and adopted ours. Adopted everything from the way that we dress to the way that we eat to the way that we pray to the way that we do everything. They adopted. And again, Anur Majid, we are all Moors.
Yep.
But not everybody is a declared and proclaimed Moor. Saying we are all Moors and being a declared Moor is two different things. So when we say that they're Moors, we're not talking about they're able to take the birthright. They can't take the birthright. They're not declared. But you could abandon your birthright and they pick it up. That's not them taking anything. That's you abandoned. They just pick up what you dropped.
Yep. Like big bro went crazy, but little bro kept up everything his big brother taught him. You know, but now big bro, he lost it. He's out here going crazy. But little bro remembers everything big bro used to do. He used to, you know, study, you know, used to be thinking and all of that. But now big bro is out here acting crazy, you know. He's acting crazy. But little bro kept all the science.
Yeah.
You know, and now we're looking at little bro like, why is he acting like that? Like, you know,
why you acting like that? What's up with you, big bro? Shit.
What else did he say? Through marriage. See, he started breaking it down, and then see, because I'm starting to think about the comments too. Like, cause there's a lot of comments in there. Europeans like what this man is saying.
Yo, they're
like,
not mad. They're good. Like, why not be tied to the history of the Moors?
Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Then you see how they didn't tie themselves to anything coming off of a slave ship, though.
Right.
Nothing got tied to back to Africa, Black Power. You know, we were slaves. No. Didn't tie themselves to that. Didn't even mention it. Didn't even look nothing. Nope. Went straight to when the Moors were great. That's what we're tying ourselves to. Why would you tie yourselves to anything less? Only people who do that who are confused and accept the ignorance.
Yeah. Accept it.
Iberian Peninsula, southern France and Italy, and the island of Sicily. After centuries of Islamic political suppression, sub-Saharan African slave trading, and race mixing, the current Berber populations look much different, but that is the case across the world, such as Ethiopia, where modern sub-Saharan African mixed populations no longer resemble the fabled blonde angels of legend that built the stone churches of Lalibela, with their swastikas and Templar crosses still on open display. Or Mesopotamia, where all statues of ancient Sumerian nobility have blue eyes, as do the statues of ancient Egyptian pharaohs. Or in Asia, where we find thousands of statues of Buddha that no longer resemble the actual Gautama Buddha, which ancient Buddhist texts clearly describe as a blue-eyed, blonde Aryan. So modern India is not the same civilization as the Aryans of thousands of years ago.
Again, remember, right? Keep in mind that Seper is Persian. So we're talking about dark-skinned people. We're talking about some ancient whatever and they had blue eyes or whatever. We're not talking about it's a pale person. Why? Because these places are 100 degrees. I'm a pale person living in that. Sorry, it's not happening.
He's smooth. He didn't even mention pale people, not one time. He just kept saying, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Blonde hair, blue eyes.
There's blonde hair, blue eyes, pitch dark people. Naturally.
Naturally.
Not walking around here looking crazy. Naturally.
Not when it got the blonde dye.
Right. We call them.
They got contacts.
Or the blonde dub-dubs. You call them dub-dubs. I don't. With they wig weaves or whatever. We call them wig weaves. Wig weaves. Dub-dubs. Oh man, that was crazy. That was years ago. Dub-dubs. Walking out here looking crazy. Nope. There's dark-skinned people with blonde hair, blue eyes right now. Right now. But he's playing it smooth. Playing it smooth. Because he knows.
Yeah, we're just filling in the gaps. We're just filling in the gaps because, you know, certain people maybe can't say certain stuff because they already know how it goes. But we are the Moors. Like, we're the Moors. We're out here, we see people talk stuff about Moors or whatever. We see people talk negative. We see people talk positive. You know, but unless it's Negro, black, colored, once it's somebody that's international or quote unquote a brother from the East, like Noble Drew Ali said, is going to come and help him save us, we know that we are all Moors. We know that it's unity, but it's only our own that don't want to realize that they are us. They're not separate.
That introduced horses to India, introduced Sanskrit to India, and introduced swastikas to India. No, the Moors were not ethnically sub-Saharan African. They did buy, sell, and own sub-Saharan African slaves, however, a business that still thrives until today in Islamic North Africa.
Look at my head. You'll see the scar. That's where they hit me with an iron rod.
Jean came to be a victim of a well-organized human trafficking syndicate in Libya. He says he was sold 4 times and that slave traders bought him for between 400 and 500 euros.
He took me and he went to sell me in another part of town.
Hold on, bro. There's a lot more.
Yo, watching this thing has me going freaking crazy, yo.
Go nuts, boy. Go nuts.
You know, Islam, brother Yusuf. Islam, more. What's going on? There's nothing, man. You're trying to pinpoint which way this European's coming. It's funny because I'm watching this, the video live, and what this guy's talking about is, I guess that's not the topic at hand, but it was just outrageous because a lot of the stuff that he's showing, I went to the Louvre in Paris, in the museum, and so the ancient Iranian artifacts, they all depict us as dark-skinned people. And that's going back to 5,000, 6,000 BC. So I don't know what this guy is talking about thousands of years ago, when their own scientists in Australia determined that the pale skin only came about, 5,000 years ago, 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. So that's going back to that's going back to what, if you want to say 3,000 BC, or actually, correction. Yeah, that's right, 3,000 BC, when the artifacts that he's showing there in the video about ancient Iran and stuff, I saw in the Louvre, and that goes back to 5,000, 6,000 BC. So, this is one reason why I keep saying it's so important to travel, because when you see this stuff, you can just laugh, like a video like that, you can laugh at it, because it's just all fabricated, really. And the pale Berbers and stuff, once again, it's breaking into common sense. I guess those pale Berbers had sunscreen back then, right?
It's not.
I was thinking that too. And because they're in they're in Al-Qibla, and I guess they must have had sunscreen plus 30. The 30, whatever it is, the 30, because it's like 25. There's different levels of sunscreen, so I guess they had the high level of sunscreen back then.
You know what I mean? Because there's, what is it? There's 5. I think there's level 5, there's level 10, 15, 25, and I think 30 is the highest. So I guess they were using 30 back then. All them thousands of years ago. You know?
They have to be doing something, yo.
Yeah. And you know what? I guess, you know, I guess it was the sun that darkened them, that made them all get darker. And to the extent that the sun darkened so many people around the planet, more people than they are, because they're the minority on the planet, not by thousands, we're talking by billions. So I guess the sun just blessed all these different people, but then left them out.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking about was it 7 or 9 billion people on the planet, and in Europe within Europe there's what, 500 million? Not mistaken. So you take Europe with 500 million, you take Australia with X amount, you take the UK with X amount. If you're lucky, you get up to 1 billion. Right? So I guess the other 8, I guess the sun just kissed the other 8 billion people and just forgot them. So, you know what I mean? Because I guess according to them, the whole planet was Aryan, I guess, at one point. Talking thousands of years ago. So I know that's a bit off topic, but I'll just go nuts.
No, it's not, bro.
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
Can you blame them for trying to tie themselves back to being Moors?
You can't blame them, no.
You know, right. Because, you know, other than that, it's back to Neanderthal.
Right.
Asian man guy. You know, you got to be tied to, in order to look quote unquote human, you gotta say you were Moor. You have to. Like, in Northern legit, we are all Moorish.
Right.
Like, because if they don't say that there's some type of way tied to the Moors, you know, then they have to say Neanderthal. They have to, you know, they can't say that they're, you know, the humans. All they have to get away from, you know, being cave people. I mean, cave, whatever it was in there. They can't accept that. They have to say, you know, that they're Moors or tied to the Moors some type of way.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but the way they do it, you know, like it's kind of like if you look at it, like to me, in my shoes, it's gonna be kind of hard for me as a man with, you know, children and stuff to say that another people invented me. You know, like that is gonna be crazy for me to accept. Like I just can't. I couldn't. No matter what, I just couldn't accept that. Now, if you're saying I'm amalgamated, or like, you know, I got Moorish blood in me some type of way, where the cave I was created story doesn't exist, because that's what I'm looking at it like that's what it looks like. They're trying to make it seem like they always been part of the human thing, and the only way they can do that is by tying themselves back. More like same thing we're doing.
Yeah,
exactly.
Tying themselves back to being Moors.
Yeah.
And another thing I see too, because that's why I'm saying, like, the way he's putting it, like, I couldn't see them doing it any other way, like, any other type of way. Like, I really can't. Like, I'm trying to, like, because they would have to, truthfully, you would have to say, you guys created us. And it's like, man, they're not trying to say, they're not going to say that. They're not agreeing to that. Yeah, like it's gonna be so they like I'm trying to like give it to them where they can like they have to say something to tie themselves back to the human family. They can't just say, you know, they're Neanderthals or cave people like that, or cave monkeys or whatever. Like not even people. You know what I mean? Like that's hard to accept.
And to your point, they're gonna put themselves on top, obviously, because of ego.
Oh yeah, see, yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
But again, that's what I'm saying. Exactly like you said, because they have to though. Like, why would you, as a man, you can't put yourself beneath a whole nother race. You just couldn't do that. You know, you can make it seem like, but you do have the option of being like everything's mutual. You know, you can try that.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. To your point, like at least, like, you know, at least go about and saying, you know what, we are descendant of albinos, but because our nose is alkaline, we are the albinos from Hindustan.
Or something,
Go
yeah.
that route,
Yeah.
because Hindustanis have the straight hair, Hindustanis have the more alkaline nose, so on and so forth. So we are the albinos of them.
Right.
If anything, you know.
Yeah, yeah. That's a closer acceptable creation story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I just laugh because we have to give them a story. It's just like we had to give them a religion. You know, it's all over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's starting to really show now. Because, you know, when we study, you can see it now. It's like, dang. That's why I be, you know, I know it was more back then that felt bad for these people. You know what I mean? And I can see how now, like.
Yeah, that's why we did what we did. You know, that's exactly why we did what we did. Because, you know what I mean? We have to uplift the fallen. We're not going to see fallen because they look whatever and do nothing. You know what I mean? Like, and then that's where it comes in too with the whole, you know, they get paid in compounded interest. You know, they owe us so much. You know, like they have serious back dues.
Yeah. Because when they made them, they could have just been like, you know what, this ain't working out, and left it. Like, you know what, just leave it over there. And people, they probably did do that. They left. That's when they got into those so-called mountain area over there. Like, it was basically like, yo, just leave it over there. And then, come on, people, that's when the Moors came and up, you know, get through the dark ages, because we came and gave them that light. Like, that was the 5 principal Moors who came through. Like, nah, man, you can't just do that. We made this mess. Like, somebody got to clean this up. We got to fix this. Can't just be like, I'll just leave it over there. Like, no. After you know, cross breeding with a Moabite, you know what I mean? Like, no, that's still Moabite blood, no matter how you want to look at it. You know what I mean? Because they still had to use that to create that. So that's still Moabite blood. You know, so I always look at it like, because people try to be like, oh, the Moors, they should have never helped the Europeans. Man, the Europeans needed, you had to help them.
Yeah.
Couldn't leave that on like that mess on the earth like that. You couldn't leave that like that. You had to teach these people how to, you know, lead right, and to, you know, wash their behind and all of that. You couldn't just leave them there not knowing none of that.
Yeah.
So I guess, you know, to your point, actually, you just mentioned something interesting. So I guess, you know, according to his points, then I guess the Aryans used to bathe, and then they stopped bathing, and then And then us dirty Moors had to remind them to bathe.
Right. I need somebody to say it. Yep.
Okay.
Something's got to give.
They forgot, and yeah, I see that a lot too. Reading books, I'm like, why does it make it seem like they forgot and the Moors came with the information that they kept with themselves, and then like once they came over, they gave it back to them. Like, no, that's what's supposed to be happening now. Y'all supposed to be giving us back our stuff.
Right. Or maybe it was the I'm trying to figure this out because what's interesting is when you go to Asia, or actually a lot of these places, and you go to use the toilet, there's the toilets that they have in Asia, there's automated toilets that they have. In some places that you go, in other places there's like a side hose, like a small little side hose on the toilet, right? And that is for the woman to wash herself after she goes to the toilet, or for for people to wash themselves after. Right. And you don't see that in Europe. But you see it in Asia. I've seen it in Vietnam. I've seen it in China. I've seen it in Asia. I've been to Palestine, and I've seen it in Palestinian houses and stuff like that. I'm trying to remember if I saw it in a Hebrew, a Jewish house as well, a Jewish household. Trying to remember. But you don't see that in Europe.
Nope. Point like you don't see that. Just to add on real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I know my aunt's husband, he was stationed in Germany in the 50s, and he was telling me the story how when they're in the army or whatever, they still hook up with girls or whatever. So they're hooking up with the so-called German girls in the town, and he said she's hooking up with one of them. He brings them back to the house, and he asks her, "Where's the bathroom at?" And they don't understand English or whatever like that. And he, I guess shows her and she goes, "Oh," and points. It was a pan over there in the corner. This was in the 50s. They still didn't have bathrooms yet in Germany. They were still peeing in pans. This was in the 50s. I was looking at it, I was like, no, you can't tell me that. I was just bugged out. I'm like, looking at it like, man, these people didn't even have bathrooms in the 50s. Like, when they came here to the land of milk and honey, the Garden of Eden, when they came here, man, this must have been, look what they did to stay here. They would never want to go back there. They didn't even have tourists in the 50s. Look how hard they did everything in their power to stay here. I just wanted to add that on to that. That's crazy, like you said.
Yeah. So that's the thing that's kind of strange. Like when it's so easy to debunk what this guy's saying, especially if you travel, right? So that's what I noticed. Like the concept of cleanliness from all the places that I've gone are all in places that aren't Christian. Like I'm not trying to dog Christians, but it's all in different countries that aren't Christian, if you want to say. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that, and that's a simple concept of having something to wash yourself after you use the toilet. Right. I've seen it everywhere except for in Christian countries. So So I guess, according to this guy, the clean Aryans, and actually, if you do the research on Aryans, that goes, they're Hindustani regardless, but that's a whole other topic, right? But I guess the clean Aryans then didn't know how to build these, toilets or whatever like that, or I guess they taught it to the Asians and then somehow they forgot. And then I guess, the Moors had to remind them or something. I don't know. Yeah. So just wanted to add that on. Like, I was just going nuts watching this video. So.
Oh yeah, it's something here. Yep.
That's why I say, man, it's so important. I'll say it over and over again. It's so important for people to travel and just travel outside of North America and just talk to different people from different nations, man, and just see. You'll see all, like, once that happens. That's why, like, I keep saying I try to, I start to bring this videos and stuff to y'all. Matter of fact, I added a comment in the chat when you brought up Medusa, right?
Yeah.
The picture of Medusa. I was just in Erlangen, which is a city about, say, a 15-minute travel outside of Nuremberg, and it's a university town. And I went there to scout some photo locations. And obviously there's a Moorish pharmacy there, so I filmed that. There's a Masonic, if you want to say temple or whatever, building there, which is just down the street from the Moorish pharmacy, and I filmed that too. And then we went to a park, me and the Moor went to the park, and there's a statue of a European on a horse, and he's trampling, like, so the statue is there, the European on the horse, and the horse is trampling, I believe it's one woman, and the other figure is a little bit worn out. I wasn't sure if it was a woman or a man, but I was assuming it's a man. But one figure was a woman, and she had snakes in her hair. And she was holding up. There was right. Right. So when you mentioned Medusa, I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. So the woman had obviously snakes in her hair, which was Medusa, and she was holding up snakes in her hand, and the horse was trampling her. And then at the bottom of the statue, there were four like other humanoid statues, which were all Muslim because they all had turbans on. And one of them was a Moabitess with a turban and like the cone says on the inside. Yeah. Yeah. And they all had like shackles on their feet, on one of their feet and stuff like that, on one of their ankles, I should say. And so just by looking at that, I kind of, I filmed myself and I broke it down, and I'm going to post it, probably in a few days as another day in the life. And it was just interesting seeing that statue and just breaking it down, not even knowing which European man is on the horse or whatever like that. Yeah, right. Just the image, just breaking it down.
Just the energy, yeah.
Based on, what you know. But it was interesting when you posted the Medusa, the pic. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta, I gotta say something about that. But yeah, I mean, it's super important to travel. When you get a chance, because you look at this stuff and then you just laugh at it, how crazy it is. Yeah. Like once you travel and you talk to people, no one can tell you BS anymore.
That's the good
with
part.
That, you the floor. Huh? What's that?
I said that's the good part.
Yeah, and that's why I strive to always bring these videos so y'all see for yourself. But with that, I yield the floor. It's 10:02 in the morning.
It's a lot more.
What's that?
That's what the that is low. Like the brother from the east said, that is low. Yes, forever. This Morocco, the extreme west, that is low. Everybody from other, like you said, when you travel, or when you even speak to people from other places, when they see, especially when they see you in your headdress, they'll talk to you.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, the 22-year-old brother, like he from Egypt, he specifically told me, growing up, they never said this was a black Egyptian or never. He said he never heard that ever. It's just Egyptian, period. And he told me that, like, Morocco, Al-Maghrib al-Aqsa, is the Arabic translation of the word Morocco. And Morocco literally means the West.
Yep.
And so when you say Maghrib al-Aqsa or Morocco, they automatically think of the North America.
Yeah.
Because on the map, the West is the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
So he broke it down to me when I was saying, because when I said, we were talking about the whole thing that started the conversation. Obviously, his grandparents wore it and so on and so forth. And this was on a trip from Toronto going to Montreal. And we spoke in like the entire trip was like a 5-hour tour, just speaking about history and stuff. And when I told him North America was, Al-Maghrib al-Aqsa, he said, yeah, well, he was thinking about it and said, but yeah, that makes sense because the literal translation of Morocco is Al-Maghrib al-Aqsa, which means the literal translation means the West. Maghrib, like he said, Maghreb means the West, and Al-Aqsa is extreme or the farthest. So once you say Maghreb, you can say Maghreb or Maghreb al-Aqsa. They automatically think of the West, and when you think of the West, it's automatically the Americas. That's what he said. So he said it's a double. He's 22. Yeah,
22. Right.
And he said it's a double. He said it's a double meaning. So you can say Morocco as in when you say Morocco or Maghreb, you can mean Northern Al-Kebalan type of thing, and you can mean North America. That's what he said. And it's not like if you say so, if you meet someone, you say I'm from Maghreb, and they look at you, they'll determine either you mean Northern Al-Kebalan or you mean North America. So if he said it's like a double meaning type of thing.
That's interesting.
He's 22 and he told me that. So, and he's from Egypt, not even from Morocco. So that's so he's an Egyptian. I got it from a Jordanian, and I got it from 2 Moroccans. That's 4 people outside. 4 people that aren't from the Americas.
Islam.
There you go.
Islam.
Yeah.
Islam, brother Yusuf. You have anything else on this?
Say that again.
You have anything? You have any other comments or closing remarks?
Oh, no, it's love to the Moors. Give thanks to Brother Sheldon.
Yeah, yo, give thanks. Give thanks to the pop up. The 2 a.m. pop up.
Man, I was going nuts with this guy talking, but I was going nuts and then laughing at the same time. Like, this is ridiculous, man.
Everybody wants to be Moors except Moors.
Right? Yeah, that's the thing. That's the whole thing.
Exactly.
Islam to all the Moors worldwide. Peace and love to all. Give thanks, Brother Sheldon. Give thanks, Brother Yusuf. You already know.
Thanks, give thanks. Thanks,
Brother Sheldon. Love.
All right, Islam, Brother Yusuf. Islam, Cujo.
Yo, peace, more. We'll build Friday.
Yeah, man, we'll build Friday.
All right. Islam, more.
Islam.